we were talking about Judah and how they ended up on the west coast of Africa. So just to confirm that, this is a book called From Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph Windsor. Yeah, From Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph Windsor. And we're on page 84. And I know many of you brothers know about this book. I've read this many a time, but this is just for those that don't. But like the elders say, boy, this ain't about trying to open up people's eyes again, or trying to convince someone, should I say. If they're not convinced by the amount of videos that we Hebrew Israelites have put up to identify who we are, then there's no convincing them. But they're not convinced by standing on the street corner and hearing some of these Hebrew Israelites talk, then there's no convincing them. We're not here to convince them, we're just here to continue bringing the word until we're called to face our own judgments and to go to war. Short of that, I'm not here trying to convince no one. If they don't want to believe, that's their business. Absolutely their business. I'm quite happy. See you later. So, page 84. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. Yeah? During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. Yeah? And then we go back to the prophecy where it says that Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 15, when it says this prophecy and all the rest of all the prophecies contained in Deuteronomy 28 chapter 15 to 68 befell the black Jews after they disobeyed the laws of the Most High. Many nations transported the Jews into slavery, and the sons of Israel transmigrated to every continent. Alright? So now we're going to go, we're dealing with facts here, yeah, not fiction, facts, yeah, not your Hollywood fiction of your white Israelites coming out of Egypt and your white pharaohs running them down, right, and the white Israelites living during the times of Herod and Pompey and Julius Caesar and all of that bullshit, that when you showed that it was only white people that lived, it was complete bullshit, because the only white people that lived back then predominantly were the Greeks. Because now the Eastern Europeans, Alexander the Great and his people had inhabited Greece and taken it over and ruled it since 333 BC. And the Romans, who took down the Greeks and everything where they ruled and came under Roman rulership. Those were your white nations. Yeah? People that go back to the Idumeans. That's who they are. Herod was white. His father, Antipater, was white. So, as what the white man does, he puts in his own governors and white rulers to rule over black people. So when you saw Herod became king of Jerusalem, yeah, first it was his father, Antipater, was in charge. He was like, I forget what position he had. And then the son, Herod, became king and became ruler. He was putting rulership over Israel, Jerusalem, by who? By the Romans. No different from what they did today in the last 300-400 years when they were colonizing Africa. Everywhere they conquered, they went and put in their white leaders from England or whatever European country to become the governor of that nation, even though the whole nation would be of a different race, different nationality. So when we look at things like the Greek historian and geographer Strabo, 63 BC to 24 AD, said, this is what he said. He's a Greek historian and geographer. His name is Strabo. A very famous man, this is Strabo. Many of these historians know about him. Between 63 BC and 24 AD, he said, concerning the Jews of Syria, which is modern-day Libya, yeah, or should I say it's in Libya, but it's another name that people called it. Now these Jews, these are his own words, now these Jews already have got into all cities, and it is hard to find a place in the habitable earth that has not admitted this tribe of men and is not possessed by it. And it has come to pass that Egypt and Syrian, as having the same governors, and a great many other nations imitate their way of living, maintain great bodies of these Jews in a peculiar manner, privileged status, and grow up to a greater prosperity with them, and make use of the same laws with the nations also. After all, the Carthaginian metropolis in North Africa, Roman power became dominant in the Barbary states. It says, under the Roman sovereignty and power, the Jews of Asia and North Africa rebelled in 115 AD. The Jews considered themselves numerous enough to challenge Roman authority in the east and the south. Because of their numbers, the Jews almost subdued their adversaries, who had compelled them to suffer many atrocities and indignities. Emperor Trajan sent his general Turbo to bring law and order. Instead of bringing law and order, the act of suppression of insurrection brought a massacre. The suppression of rebellion under the slogan of law and order. Same thing what they do today. Same thing what they do today. They go into a place, they cause uprising, and next thing you know, they want to go in there and play the fucking hero. So it says Emperor Trajan sent his general Turbo to bring law and order. Instead of bringing law and order, the act of suppression. So when those Libyans, Iraqis, Syrians thought the so-called white man was coming to help them and bring them law and order, no, he didn't bring them law and order. He brought them insurrection and massacres. Because that's what's going on in Libya today, in Syria today, in Iraq. It's insurrections and massacre. But they were there thinking that the white man was going to bring them law and order. So nothing's changed. It's the suppression of the rebellion under the slogan of the law and order may be good in principle, but a good thing may be carried too far. So it was in this case the pagans and the Romans attacked the Jews indiscriminately, both the Jewish soldiers and the uninvolved peaceful population without mercy. As a result of this merciless attack, many Jews fled to those parts of northwest Africa known as Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania. Many other Jews fled to areas where Rome did not have any jurisdiction. This was to the region of the south, the Sahara Desert and the Sudan. Such is the explanation of how the Sahara Desert first acquired Jewish tribes toughened by a fighting tradition and possessed of physical characteristics, blacks, which it is said still make them approximate very closely the original Jewish population to Palestine. So I always said this, that when those Europeans came during the 15th century or should I say during the 16th century, when they were working with the Hamites, those African tribes, to capture the so-called Jews, to capture what they called the Negroes, the Israelites that had been settled in North Africa and the west coast of Africa for nearly 1500 years. What they noticed about them is what it says here. It says, Mr. Go back here, it says, Grazel says, such is the explanation of how the Sahara Desert first acquired Jewish tribes, toughened by a fighting tradition and possessed of physical characteristics, blacks, which it is said still make them approximate very closely the original Jewish population of Palestine. The Jews are an omnipresent people. They seem to exist everywhere because we were scattered to the four corners of the world. The scriptures tells you that the Most High is going to scatter us to the four corners of the earth. So that's why we were seen everywhere, we were spotted everywhere. So when you see these historians and these geographers that travel the world to document these things, and they see these things and they see the same tribes doing the same practices in countries that are thousands and thousands of miles apart from each other, it's because we were scattered. It's part of the diaspora. So it says the Jews are omnipresent people. They seem to exist everywhere. At the beginning of the 6th century, they are found in Spain before the Mohammedan conquest. And I keep telling you that what happened to the Moors is that they became Islamified. It was due to Muhammad's conquest and also to do with the taxes that A lot of them said that they became Muslims, they wouldn't have to pay any taxes. So I keep telling people, they walked around fucking England today and told those motherfuckers all in England today, let me tell you, that for you to not pay any taxes, you got to become a Muslim. Believe me, this country will become a Muslim nation overnight. You promise those people out there that they ain't got to pay no taxes out of their wages, yeah? Whilst everything still gets done, world service, everything still gets done, tomorrow they become a Muslim. So this is what happened to the Jews that lived throughout North Africa, is that they became Islamified by the Mohammedan. When Muhammad believes and he came to power, when he was going through the Middle East, and after he died, his people continued, his sons, his grandsons, and the people that they ran with, their armies, they continued the Islamification of the Middle East and North Africa. That's why they're considered Muslim countries today. Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, Sudan. They're all considered Muslim countries today. But the people that originally lived in them, or should I say that migrated to those places, were Hebrew Israelites, who later on became the Moors, because the word Moors means black, Moreno, and then they became Islamified and started to worship Islam. So it tells you here, it says the Jews are an omnipresent people. They seem to exist everywhere. At the beginning of the 6th century, yeah, they are found in Spain before the Mohammedan conquest. Spain is known to the Jews as the classical land of crypto-Judaism because they feign Christianity but practice Jewish rituals in secret. As early as the Roman period, the Jews of Spain had been large in number and influential. Many of them claimed to be descendants of the noble Jews in Jerusalem who were carried into exile by no other than General Titus, the son of Emperor Vespasian. After the Visigoths, a Germanic tribe invasion, the situation ameliorated for the Jews because the Visigoths adopted the Arian form of Christianity and they favoured the Jews. So then, I'm going to go over to page 87. It says, throughout the Middle Ages, many European governments expelled their Jews. These black Jews migrated to neighbouring countries, Turkey and Africa. Because that's what they was doing, they was expelling us. It says, the Byzantine emperors in the 5th and 6th centuries persecuted the Jews constantly. Therefore, multitudes of the Jews were compelled to migrate into the Sahara Desert to the south. But this time, the Sahara Desert was heavily occupied with black Jews already. Why is that? 70 AD. Because the majority were on the west coast, but as you know, some of them went into the Sahara Desert. It says here, it says, in ancient times, the Carthaginians from North Africa penetrated the Sahara Desert and the Western Sudan during the 2nd and 3rd centuries BC. When North and Eastern Africa had amassed over 1 million Jews, these Jews began a continuous migration to the region of the Niger River, according to the researchers of Nahum Scosa. The tradition of the Jewish traders in the Sahara stretches back to the biblical times. Remember, when did Christ run? When Herod was killing every child under 2 because he heard about the prophecy, yeah, the 3 wise men told him, yeah, it's coming to pass, and that the child was born, and that he's here somewhere in Jerusalem. What did Herod do? He said, right, he's going to kill every child under 2. So what did Mary and Joseph do? They took their child, Yahushua, and fled to where? To Egypt. They didn't fucking flee to Rome or some continent that was populated with white, Caucasian, European people, because it would mean they would fucking stand out. If Herod had people, or knew the rulers of those places and said, look, we're looking for any new people that might turn up, and gave them a description of who they are. Can you imagine black Joseph and black Mary and black Yahushua sitting in the middle of fucking one of these European countries that were ruled by like these Germanic tribes or the Romans and that, they would stand out a mile. So by fleeing to Egypt, it's no different than like me fleeing to Tottenham. We're all black people. If I'm on the run, I'm not gonna fucking hang out in fucking Mill Hill or Muswell Hill or one of them places. Or I don't know, one of the suburbs in Surrey or whatever. I'm fucking going right to the heart of Tottenham. I'm going where the niggas are so I can blend in. So that's why Christ went to Egypt, to blend in. That's why Mary and Joseph took him to Egypt, to blend in. So when you see this talking about Jews in Egypt, and that's also because they would have been Jewish tribes, people living there. Some of them were still living there from the days of from the